at Bracken Library at our very own Ball State University, the members of BSU Inklings meet every Friday to write and share their creative stories.
Probably, as you know, it's been around for like 5 years, but as an actual organization, it's only been around for 4.
Co-president Meredith Foster shared her thoughts on creative inspiration.
I think really it varies for everybody. I know a lot of people who will get it from art or from other places like that. Although it's interesting because I think that something that is very modern, well not modern really at all, but modern in the way that it's gone about is, I think that all writers, whether we know it or not, we all write fan fiction. And what I mean by that is we consume other media, we consume books or films or television shows, and we see things that are done there and we think, hey, I could do that better, or I like this piece but not that piece, and so we tend to dissect and take bits apart and plug them into other places, which has been going on forever. Most classic literature, Shakespeare, Virgil, Homer, all of that could be considered fan fiction because it's really just modern adaptations with new characters of stories that had already existed in some form or another. But anyway, what I'm trying to get down to is, for me, the inspiration is, I tend to get creative inspiration from other works of creative media. Not necessarily just outright plagiarizing, but I'll see things that I like or story devices that I know that work, and it allows me to get kind of an idea of both of what people are interested in right now and what I like and what I don't like, and it allows me to better integrate different ideas and concepts into my stories.
She shares an interesting and valid perspective on the influence of writing.
All writing takes influence from other writing. If you want proof, just look at the massive amounts of teenage paranormal romance that came out right after Twilight came into vogue, or the fact that dystopia with a young white girl is now a genre unto itself, thanks to Suzanne Collins in The Hunger Games. It's not plagiarism, it's drawing from this sort of collective creative pool.
Meredith also believes that inspiration can virtually come from anything.
I've known people who have gotten inspired because of the way that they saw somebody fold a napkin, or because they were watching somebody on the street and a certain song came onto their iPod. It can come from anything. You can be walking down the street and somebody can pass by you, and that experience can give you an idea. Or you can go to a film and you can see a film and the first thing that you can think is, well, I can do that better. So things that can start from such a small thing or such a frustrating thing can grow into entirely their own animal.
How has writing changed your life, or what does it do for you?
Well, the first thing I think that I would say is that it's given me an outlet. And by that, I really mean that writing is, well, for me, there's sort of 2 classes. There's fiction writing, which is what I do for fun. And then there's rants and poetry and other angry or sad emotional things that I do because I have to. So in that sense, writing has helped me a lot because it's kept me from being angry and being bitter, but also from doing things to cope with problems that wouldn't necessarily be healthy. It's also introduced me to a lot of great people and great ideas and informed the way that I look at media. Because when you start looking at things as a writer, you really see, it changes the way that you consume media, that you'll watch TV or you'll read a book or you'll see a film, and looking at it as a writer, you can see the threads that hold the plot together, and sometimes it leads to really frustrating moments because you can see the bad writing, which is probably the biggest outward change, because I can come out of a film and hate something because I think that it's just absolutely awful, awful, awful writing.
Creative writing has proved helpful in ways beyond mere storytelling.
It's definitely made me more aware of people. I'm better at observing people thanks to all of the time that I spend with non-existent people, which I think is kind of funny. but all of the efforts that I spend writing have made me a better socializer, if that makes any sense. Because you can start to see everything as a story, and you can start to see everybody as their own protagonist, so you become a little bit more aware of their autonomy in a way that you wouldn't necessarily if you didn't look at the world like it was just a bunch of narratives in this awful messy ball.
Do you have any advice for people who haven't tried creative writing or any creative outlet in that case?
You're gonna think you're horrible, probably, when you first start. You're not. And essentially, everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has something that they can contribute. You may feel like it's unoriginal. I think it's in Ecclesiastes, the Bible says that there's nothing new left under the sun, and that's certainly true in terms of creative endeavors. It's not necessarily about complete originality, it's about finding your own way to tell that story. And again, everybody has a story to tell. You may think that you don't, or it may manifest itself in different ways, but it's definitely true and it's definitely there. Also, this is just sort of a mechanics thing, don't be upset with yourself if your first drafts are always awful. Don't be upset with yourself if you read things that other people have written on their first draft and it feels better. If you're starting out, especially, if you find the right group of people, nobody's going to yell at you for trying. If they do, then you need to get out because they're a bunch of elitist jerks, and you don't want to be around that kind of attitude.
Meredith offers one last piece of advice for aspiring writers.
Don't compare you just starting out to somebody like Tolkien, who spent years, literally decades, polishing his work and getting it ready to what he thought was publication. Nobody is going to do that the first try, and that doesn't mean that you're a failure, that doesn't mean you're a bad writer, that just means that you're human and you're not J.R.R. Tolkien.
And you can fly high as a kite if you want to, faster than light if you want to, speed